Okay, hello. So Beat is actually a typical Swiss name. So if you see someone that is called Beat, then you have a 99% chance that he is actually from Switzerland, or he is from the very, very western part of Austria. And in Germany, actually, it's only Beate, so it's a female name. So it leads to some of the other confusions I'm actually sometimes having. So I'm talking about notification hubs today, and before I start, I would like to know who knows actually notification hubs already? Okay, and who develops for mobile apps? Okay, so for all the ones who develop mobile apps and actually don't know notification hub, that might be an eye-opener. Hopefully for the ones who already played around with it, I can show you one or two different angles to it. So what Notification Hub really is, it's a service in the cloud that allows you to push notification to devices, iOS, Android, Xamarin, Windows, within seconds or milliseconds, and there's actually up to millions of devices. Push notification is really kind of an integral part of every mobile app. If you want to notify a consumer, if you want to notify a user about an event, about something that happened, about an update that is going to be available and so forth, the only way you can actually communicate with a device is through a push infrastructure, which is actually different from device platform to device platform. So if you're developing for Android, you push using the Google Cloud messaging service. If you develop for iOS, you push messages using the Apple push notification service. And if you use Windows and Windows Phone, then you're actually using the Microsoft push notification service. But it's not only the service which is different, but as you can see, also the payload is different. So for Windows and Windows Phone, it's an XML payload. And these are very close to being actual JSON payloads. There are a couple of things I kind of want to clear out before I go into the service. So how does push notification work? And from an architectural perspective, it actually works the same for all platforms. One thing you might ask yourself if you're not in mobile development at the moment is, I mean, why do I not just spin up a web service here and just listen for incoming requests? The answer is these devices, they have a limitation on battery. So if you have 10 apps and 10 apps run their own web servers and listen on ports and so forth, you run into a serious issue. So that's why all these device platforms, they actually provide you with a platform notification service. So when you develop an app, you communicate with this service, and this service basically notifies your app if a message arrives. It notifies other apps as well if a message arrives. The way it works is, first, the app is going to request a channel URI or an ID that allows the push notification service to identify the device plus the app that actually registers for a notification. Once I got this URI or ID, I'm actually going to my very own backend, to my own service, and say, look, I'm actually having a URI XYZ. Please store this, and every time you're going to have a news about football, send this, please, to this URI. So now I'm going to have in my backend, my service, so assume we're kind of a newspaper online service. Now something happened, England just scores. So what are we going to do? We're actually going to send the new score as a push notification to the platform notification service. So Google Cloud Messaging, the Microsoft push notification service, and so forth. With the channel URIs that we actually want to send this message to, And then the platform service pushes this to the device. And the device then dispatches it towards your app. And you're actually going to get this message even if your app is not running, for instance, in certain circumstances. From an architectural perspective, this looks actually like this. All these platforms, they have something like a client notification service, which acts as the client part to this push notification service. So you're interacting with an API, which basically is the client notification service. So that's where you request your channel URI, that's where you renew your channel URI, and that's also where you're on the request. And it's this part of the mobile platform that really pushes then the message to your app. So that's kind of the big picture where we're in. And that really leads to a couple of issues. Issue number one is the registration management is actually not that simple, because you have a unique token per device and app. And different platforms have different ways you have to renew them, different policies. But also, you as the service, as the newspaper service, need to persist them. So you need to know what are all the channel URIs that you have so you can actually send messages to these. The second thing is you're actually not interested to get a notification 16 minutes after England scores. So time to deliver a message is crucial. First of all, push notification messages, you don't have a quality of service. You have no guarantee of delivery. That's, as a service, you never know whether it is delivered. The only thing you know is that the push notification service accepted your request to send the push notification to a device and app, but you never know whether that actually has been successfully delivered. So now imagine you have 1 million subscribers. All of your 1 million subscribers want to be notified about the score that England just makes. I measured it's roughly 1 millisecond to send an asynchronous request, which means if you're in a loop, it takes 1 millisecond to really set up the asynchronous request. It doesn't mean it's processed, but that's how you can spun it off. So that means for 1 million notifications, it would actually take roughly 16 minutes. Or 32 servers to send them within 30 seconds. And you can do your own math. And you actually have to spun them up first. So the servers have to run, otherwise you don't benefit from that. So it becomes very clear if you look at this that if you can take advantage of a service in the cloud that already has the services up and running, that becomes a tremendous advantage. But it's not only this. It is actually message personalization. So for instance, imagine weather forecasts. If you do weather forecasts across the US and Europe, in the US they want to have it in Fahrenheit, we want to have it in Celsius. You actually would be interested in a 5-day forecast. I'm interested in a 3-day forecast. You see that as soon as you go into a broader market, or even, in your case, you might say, I'm actually only interested in England scoring if Rooney shot the goal. That might be a very personalized view on a match. But at the end, you have to manage personalized notifications as well, which is actually quite challenging. And also, you might have different needs on different devices. So on your tablet, you're interested in a view that shows you the weather in 5 days. On your phone, you're actually only interested in a 1-day forecast. And then it's the routing. So funny thing here is, for instance, you could say, look, I'm actually interested in all news that has been written about rugby, but only if they have been written by a certain journalist. So you might limit the amount of information you're interested in. So you see, when you look at push end to end, this is actually not a too simple of a problem to solve. And Notification Hub really solved this problem for you. It's basically a highly scalable pops up service. It's based on the Windows Azure Service Bus. So underneath, it is the Service Bus. And I will use the Service Bus to demonstrate some of the capabilities. We actually use this ourselves, for instance, with Bing. We have it pre-installed on all the Windows devices. We do actually 3 million plus notifications a day. For Sochi, that is interesting. As you can imagine, with the Olympics, that's timely pushes are crucial, and it's highly personalized. It's actually, we had more than 100 interest groups. It's very localized with different languages, with different measurements and so forth. And we pushed to 3 million plus devices across all the different platforms. And altogether, actually, we did 150 million timely notifications that we actually pushed. So this is definitely something you can actually leverage in large scale. We use it ourselves. Now, how does the Notification Hub work? The first step is the same. You need to get a URI. So you need to know what is the channel of your app. In this case, I'm going to retrieve my channel. And once I have this channel, I'm actually registered with the Notification Hub. You see, I'm actually not registered with my very own backend. I just register with the Notification Hub. I'm basically saying, hey, Notification Hub, I want to receive notifications to this channel for this particular app. The next step then is fairly simple. If, for instance, a news occurs, I'm simply going to send a message to this hub. And as you can imagine, a hub is you can define for yourself what the hub is going to be. So you can, multiple apps could share a same hub. But in general, you would say you have your hub per app. So that means if you send a message, then everyone that registers to this hub will actually retrieve, get the notification, which then really is dispatched by the Notification Hub. So the hub sends the message to the notification service, and that then dispatches it to the app. If there are more notification services involved, in this case Google Cloud Messaging and Apple Push Notification Service, it works the very same way. You retrieve the channel URI, you register with your channel URI on the hub, and to send, you then simply just send a message to this hub. In this case, what you see is I send a message which is formatted for Google Cloud Messaging, and I send a message which is formatted for iOS, and then they actually get dispatched to all these apps. So it's extremely straightforward. So what you see here is the client part. So the only thing you have to do when you launch your application and you want to register for the hub is you retrieve your channel URI. That's what I do there. I ask the push notification channel manager to get me the channel, and the channel contains the URI. What you see next is I'm actually going to create a hub. And the way I create the hub is by the hub name and the hub's connection string. And I'm going to show you how you get through this. And then the last thing is you just register your channel with that particular hub. So what you see is the very same thing in iOS, so in Object-C. And the last one is in Android. So what you see there is you actually ask, again, Google Cloud Messaging, get instance, and you get a Google Cloud Messaging instance, which you then can actually use to register. That's what you see. down here, you retrieve the registration ID, and that's what you then, again, communicate to the hub. That's all you have to do on these three platforms to enable the app to receive notifications. To send notifications, it's not more difficult. It's actually simple as well. So what you do first is you create, again, an instance of the hub client. Second thing is, that's how I send, for instance, a push notification for Windows. Third is one for iOS, and then one for Android. That's it. That's all you have to do. Because the notification hub knows, based on your registration ID, what are all the Android devices, what are all the iOS devices, and the Windows devices. So let's kind of build the client side. And then what I'm going to use, I'm not going to build the server side that sends the message. I'm actually going to use the Service Bus Explorer to save some time, but also to show you the tool and how it actually works. So the first thing is really I'm creating a new Windows 8 app. And I'm creating a Windows 8 app just because it's the easiest to demo. So let's just call this Windows Azure User Group. The first thing I have to do is I have to kind of get a NuGet package for the managed library for Notification Hub. So I just say manage my NuGet packages, and that's actually called messaging managed. So you see the Windows Azure Service Bus managed libraries. I install them. That's it. The second thing is I'm actually just going to define the using statements for that, so messaging. And I'm also going to add the using statement for the push notifications, so networking push. So that's it. So far, that should be fairly clear. Eh? Next thing is I have to enable my app for being able to receive toast notifications. So I'm actually saying in the manifest, this app becomes toast capable. So I can actually receive toast notifications. So I save that. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to associate this with the store. Because only if I associate it with the store, then I'm actually going to be able to get the package SID and the client secret for the notification service. So I just use this not H test, which should be notification hub test. So I just use that one. Okay. So far from a infrastructure perspective, I think from not infrastructure perspective, from a the skeleton for this application is now ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple method that registers this. So let's call this, it's a private, and it's actually going to be asynchronous. It returns nothing. And let's call this register notification hub async. Huh? So the first thing, if you remember right, is I want to get my channel. Huh? So I'm going to retrieve the channel, and I retrieve the channel by the push notification channel manager. And there I'm actually just used to create push notification channel for application asynchronous. And that does nothing else than really returns me just the channel. So step number 1 is done. So step number 2, oops. is retrieving the hub. So let's say hub, creating an instance of the hub. So this is really just notification hub. And what you're going to see here is it will ask me for the notification hub path and the connection string. So that what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a hub in the Windows Azure portal. So let me just open my portal, and I go under the service bus, and I create a new service bus. It could actually be an existing one. In this case, I just use a new one. So I call it not hub. Yeah, not bad. So while it actually creates this new service bus, I'll also get connection information then here, which is for the whole service bus. This is not the connection information that I need. So what I will have to do is I have to create an instance of a notification hub. So you see here I could use the queues, the topics. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use notification hubs. So think about the service bus as the namespace. And then you have different things within that particular namespace. So now I'm going to use a simple hub. I'll call this the same, not hub. That's it. So now I get my connection information, and you see I have two things. I have a listen and I have a full access signature. From an app, if I register for Notification Hub, I only listen. If you want to send notifications, then you actually need the full shared signature. So in this case, I use the listen signature. Just copy that. And that will then be, the name is not hub. And the signature, let's do it like this, then actually gets dropped in here. So no rocket science so far. The last bit I have to do is now to register my hub. So I'll basically say hub, and then register native asynchronous. I will show you the other parts right after it. And you see it asks me for the channel URI, and the channel URI is nothing else than the URI of this channel. Where do I have this? Ah, I think I registered. Excuse me? What? What? Oh, yeah. Ah, sorry, yeah, I only got the task back. Thank you, yeah. Sorry, I didn't understand. Yeah, it's my English, which is limited. So I agree. Thank you very much. Coffee for you afterwards. Yeah, that's the danger of lazy typing with the war. Yeah. So now I got my URI. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. So now this is all okay. The only link I haven't made so far is how does the push notification hub know which app it is? So I haven't linked this together. And the way I do this is I have to configure the notification hub. So if you look at this here, this is my notification hub. I open it, and I go under configure. This is how you configure which credentials or which secrets are used and which app the target is going to be. So for instance here, if you do with iOS, you basically upload a certificate thumbprint. For Google Cloud Messaging settings, you actually get an API key. In our case, I need the package SID and I need the client secret. And I get this, obviously, from my dev center. So I go down to my not-h-test, which is the app that I associated my demo with. And I can now simply get my package SID and copy this here. And I also get the shared secret. La, la, la. Yes. So that's it. I save this. So now the hub knows exactly what is the app the message is going to be sent to, and what is the shared secret, so it actually can communicate with. Why does this disappear? I had this previously as well, so I'm just going to copy this again. So now it's there. So let's do and let's run my little app, which actually does nothing. Oh, actually, we forgot one thing. Did you see? We haven't wired this up yet. So register NH asynchronous. Let's call this here. Otherwise, nothing happens. So now I let it run. It should actually register. So instead of writing this server portion, I'm going to show you this later on with another demo. I'm going to use the Service Bus Explorer that has capabilities for notification hubs as well. And to actually work with this, I need the connection string. So that's what I'm first going to do. I go back to the Service Bus instance, so not Notification Hub. This time I work with the full Service Bus namespace. You will see later on you could monitor then also topics and queues and so forth. So I'm going to copy this connection information, copy this, and then start the Service Bus Explorer and connect now to this connection string. So you see now among queue topics, relay service, I also have this notification hub. And if I look into the registrations, I see I actually have one instance that registered. And now I can actually send, by using this simple template, a message and the message is actually delivered. So you see that was fairly easy to do. It's actually similarly easy with other platforms as well. I just demo it on Windows because then I only have to have one machine and it works quite smoothly. Okie doke, so let's go back to the presentation and look into how we can leverage something we call templates to achieve platform independency. Because what you saw so far is I sent specifically a message for Windows. So going back here, it's send Windows native notification asynchronous, send Apple native notification asynchronous, send GCM native notification asynchronous with the specific payload on the server side. What I'm going to do now is I'm using actually templates to just send one message. And the way this is done is actually extremely smart. I register on the app side with a template And everything that starts with dollar bracket in between gets replaced. So you basically define the message format that is going to be sent to the app while you're registering for the notification. So in here, you see the only thing I send from the hub is the payload, angle brackets, message, colon, hello. That's what I'm going to send, nothing else. And then the system basically, so the notification hub, replaces the dollar bracket message with the actual value. Do you see that? Straightforward, isn't it? So let's do this. Because that allows you, as you see, then just send one message and you do not care about the device platform behind it. So to do so, I have actually to stop my baby here. We register this a little bit different. So I'm going to create the template string here. So let's call this template. Yeah. Lazy typer. There you go. And since I don't know how this looks like exactly, I'm actually just copy this baby here. So what I'm going to do now is a little bit of formatting, as you can imagine. I'm also escape these guys here. Oops. Come on. Yeah. You're really used to large screen sizes, except when you're presenting in front of people. So now I'm going to say this is dollar message 1. So this is if a message 1 comes along, then actually that gets replaced by its value. And this guy we just call dollar message 2. So yes. Okie doke. So what I also going to change is I'm now not register native, I'm actually register the template. So I'm basically register the template. I'm gonna give again the channel URI, which is the same. Then I'm gonna provide the template string, and I'm gonna give this also a name. Let's call this, it's a simple template. So now I let this run. Registration takes place. If we go on our hub, what you're actually going to see, if I'm heading back to registrations, I have a second one, which is a Windows template. And if you look at that, you see the hub basically just stores this. I mean, there's no rocket science. It makes a lot of sense how this is done. The great thing now is I can send these templates by basically saying, look, the only thing I send on the wire is message 1, which is going to be hello. And message 2 is going to be Azure User Group. That is actually what's going to be on the wire now. So you see message 1 will be replaced with hello, message 2 will be replaced with this. I'll send this, and you see hello Azure User Group. That would obviously work when you register in the iOS format or the Google Cloud Messaging format as well. Now, this is actually only half of the beauty, because you can now use this to personalize. You start to see where I'm heading? So you basically can say, look, I'm interested in English, you're interested in Afrikaans, you're interested in German. You just register with it. And on the wire, you basically just send the whole enchilada of messages. And then the hub replaces it with it. So the really cool thing now starts to begin when you think about you can register for a weather forecast image for 5 days in Celsius in English. Or you can do 3 days Fahrenheit, Afrikaans, and so forth. You then just have to send all the different variants on the wire when you're actually sending the message. But the beauty is you're pushing the complexity to the endpoint. You don't have to manage it because you construct the template on the client side. So the only thing that you have to do centrally is to ensure that you send all the possible values which then might be replaced. So this is, if you start to think through this, can become extremely powerful and removes a lot of complexity. Now, the third thing that I want to show you is how you can use tags to route messages. So that means when you're basically saying, so far you were able to customize the appearance of the message, but you weren't able to say, I'm only interested to receive the message if Rooney scores. So with tags, you can actually do that kind of stuff. What that means is when you register with the hub, you provide an array of tags. And when you send a message, you again have a tag expression that you can use. And if the tag expression matches your registered tags, you will receive the message. So here, very simple, you see I register Western Cape, and I want to send a weather warning for Western Cape. So obviously only the first app, but not the second app, gets it because the second app registered for Eastern Cape. But if, for instance, the weather warning is across Western and Eastern, then I would send the message with 2 tags, Western Cape and Eastern Cape. Or you could say, I'll actually register with 2 tags. So I'm interested not only in the weather in London, but I'm also interested in the weather in Bristol. So you would register London and Bristol. Does this make sense? It's extremely straightforward. The really cool thing, again, is that you have tag expressions. So now I'm going to show you a weather warning system for South Africa that I've done. So that's why you see that stuff here. But you can say, look, I'm interested in the weather in the Western Cape, and I'm basically interested in gales and big waves. Where the second instance is interested in Western Cape and Eastern Cape, but only in heavy rain. So now when I now send a weather warning, I can specifically add expressions like not, or, and. So in this case, if the heavy rain only takes place in Western Cape, I just say, this message gets everyone which registered for Western Cape and heavy rain. So you could actually say, this message gets everyone who registered only when Rooney scores. Or the opposite, not Rooney. So you can do all that kind of stuff. So let's do this. So what we're going to do is we basically just going to add some tags. So I stop that. So we register, and you see I'll just add now a tag array. So I'm going to say new string and that's going to be, let's say it's red and black. Red and black. What I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to just, if I get the registrations, I'm going to delete them just to be sure that we're not receiving, oh no, I delete. Ha! Cool. So you and I are going to, the beauty of recreating my notification hub. Sorry for that. So I called it not hub, correct? Oh yeah, thank you. So not hub is the name of it. The next step are gonna, because now, as you can imagine, I have a different listen signature. So I'll definitely gonna copy this back into my application here. So my end keys. Yep. So I'll save that. And now I also have to configure my hub again. So I have to get the package sit. Notification hub here. Configure. And I save it. Okie doke. So that should be okay. When I run now my when I run this baby, it registers with the tags red and black. So I now have most likely to refresh that one, huh? How do I refresh notification hubs? Yeah, it's here again. We should have one registration. Yeah, okay, that's good. So now, instead of just sending it like this, I can now send it with a tag expression. So the tag expression, first simple, is just black. So I get it. So now when I say someone that registered with black and not red, I don't get it. If I say black and red, I get it. So as you can imagine, you can start to play around, black and red and orange. You can have brackets and so forth. Becomes actually extremely powerful, as you can imagine, how you can route stuff along. Just some examples, what you can do is you can go to specific uses, because tags are just strings. You can actually even go to groups and exclude yourself. Or you can go to a very specific device. Or you can say a user on a particular device. And then you can basically say, look, if you're in this particular time zone or location and you favorite certain type of food, then I can notify you when you actually walk by a certain restaurant. And then also you can say, look, for instance, if you have apps on different versions, I only want to send this if you are on version 1 and running Android. So you see that becomes really powerful together with the templates. So with all of this, actually, you can define or create a weather warning app for South Africa. And I used South Africa because I did this there for a conference. And if you think about a fairly large country, how do you push notifications to millions of devices? It actually turns out that this is a project you've done within a long day. That's all you need, and most of it is really just the plumbing, not the heart of the stuff. So the way I've approached this is the following. You're interested in one warning per region, obviously. So if you issue a warning per region, that means you're creating a tag expression that consists of the region, which then has a and plus multiple ors of the actual weather warning, whether it's gale, big wave, rain, and so forth. And you issue one notification per region. That's what you do. And the tag's then routed directly. So what I've done is I created a little Windows 8 app that allows you to select, what region, what are the weather types you're interested in, and whether you want to have the message in English or in Afrikaans. And then on the back-end side, I created an HTML5 app that does nothing else. Who knows mobile services? Okay, so mobile services is a back-end that allows you to store data from mobile devices, identity, provides also push, but I didn't use that. So what I did is I just used that to log the messages, my warning messages there. And every time I log a message that a new warning appears, together with the region and the type of warning, a server-side script kicks in. And this server-side script is actually the script that then sends the message to the notification hub. So I'll show you this now, how this all looks like. And it's really no rocket science at all. Stopping this. So my Windows 8 app is extremely simple. So what you see here is the channel. I register first all notifications, then I actually get the tags, which the categories, which is really just, the weather warning type you're interested in. And I get the regions you're interested in. And then I register, and that's the most interesting thing here, my template with the region, the warning type, and whether this is going to be in English or Afrikaans. So that's the only thing I replace. I'm either going to make it region _EN or region _RF. That's how I use templates there. And then I register this with the tags, and as you see, the tags are the categories together with the region. So straightforward there. So if I run this guy, you'll see I can now say I'm interested in heavy rain, gales, in English, Western Cape, Eastern Cape are the areas I want to receive weather warning, and I can subscribe to it. So you see exactly now the tag strings that I send. So this guy now waits for notification. Oops. Let me just stop that again. I have to run my app first here, and then, yeah. So this is now the client app that you can use to issue a weather warning. So, for instance, let me now start my Windows 8 app again. So let's subscribe to this. Yeah, that's good. Yep. So with my Windows, with my HTML5 app, I simply now can issue a warning. So this is kind of the weather command center app. I basically say, look, which regions are affected, and as we discussed, I'm going to issue one notification per region you're interested in. And I'm only interested in heavy rain. And now I provide these messages, and the message is more rain to come. Yep, mer regen. I push this. And now I get one for Eastern Cape, I get one for Western Cape, a warning for the weather. So what happens now on the server side? Because that's the thing we haven't looked at yet. So all the registration, all the stuff we looked at. So let's have a look into this mobile service. So I created a mobile service which is called Weather Warning. And you see beside other stuff, which is actually interesting if you develop mobile apps, I have this data. And this data is basically nothing else than a table that allows me to store properties in there. What you see in this table shouldn't be any surprise. It's my English warning text, my Afrikaans warning text, the regions, the warnings. That's it. If you look at my mobile app here, I'm also just retrieving that. So these are the 4 ones which are already stored in this table. I get them. So the cool thing about mobile services, and this is why I use this, so I basically had no backend that I had to write myself. I just used mobile services. I used an HTML side on front end. I can write scripts for insert, or for write, for insert, for read, delete, or update operations. In this case, you could do this in C#, and actually did it in JavaScript, so using Node.js. So insert means it gets called every time I insert a new item. That's when I press the push button, I insert a new item into this table. In the item, I just retrieved the Afrikaans warning text, the English warning text, the regions, and the warnings. And I call send notification. So you see now I split it off the request into these 4 parameters. What I do now is, because I have them this string is actually just separated by a colon, I get a regions array. I just use split, and the same for the warning. So now I have 2 arrays, an array with all the regions that are affected, an array with all the weather warnings that I have to issue. Then I acquire the Azure package, and then I register my hub here. As you see, I create an instance of the hub service. And now for every region in this region array, I do nothing else than creating the message, where you see I'm adding just the name of the region which is affected. And as you can see, the English and the Afrikaans version to it. And then I'm building, this is maybe the most interesting thing here, then I'm building the tag expression by saying, look, it's and for the region, because you're only going to get this if you're subscribing to that particular region. And you're going to get this if you subscribe to any of these type of weather warning. So that's why I just basically split again the array into its element and joining them by the OR operator. And then the only thing I have to do is notification hub service send this tag expression, the notification that I just built here, which is nothing else than this JSON format, and that's it. That's all I did to build this solution end-to-end. And actually, it scales up to 1 million of devices. So with this, I get to the end, and I just would like to take one step back and look what notification Hub really can do for you. I mean, first of all, it makes scalable push notification implementations extremely easy, as you saw. I mean, all the stuff I did within the last hour, if you do this from scratch, you have a good project ahead. And then it allows you with the templates and the routing, it really gives you a great flexibility to personalize message delivery, but also message appearance. And if you use templates the right way, it completely reduces the complexity of developing a service for multiple platforms. So with this, I think we're just going to get lunch. If you have any questions or so, I'm going to be around, and otherwise, my Twitter handle is CloudBitch, and you find also my email address to look like actually slightly similar than that.